It's been a while, but it's finally here. I created a idea for a. It's actually an idea for a comic uh, series, a comic book, which with also the idea that it would be made into a cartoon. Sort of living in both worlds. And this was made in the. I made this in the mid '80s when I was a teenager, coming out of high school. I had the chicken pox. I got them at kind of late, when I was 17, about to graduate high school. And I really had nothing better to do but think and itch. Oh, and I got chicken pox everywhere. And I came up with this idea of these creatures that lived on skin. Initially, it took place on a planet that was like skin, and I had this whole story around it, like that made sense, because initially I said this being on your body, it doesn't make sense because we've never seen anything like this, and how could we not see it? But over the years, I said actually maybe a year after I made it up, I was drawing it and everything. I said let me go for the more try to make it seem real and have it be more personal and have it take place on the human body. So I came up with these guys, and this is called a Blortus. And um, out of all the, and I have a host of creatures. It's a lot of them. And what they are, they live alongside what we normally see, like fungi and bacteria and viruses that live on the surface of the skin. I think our skin is very fascinating, and there are things that live on our skin. They live in our hair, and they're animals. They're microscopic animals. So I had to come up with a whole biology about these guys. It's called integument, and that's just another name for covering a shell, skin, things like that. The natural covering around animals. So that's basically what this means. It means skin. And this is my star character. Her name is Tethys. They're actually there's really no division. Technically, there's no division of the sexes, but if you had to give them one, I think that they would have to be female, since they are uh, sort of feminine looking, and also they are able to reproduce, sort of playing both roles, because it just makes sense as far as survival and being able to reproduce rapidly. They are microscopic. Here you can see it's like one of those electron microscope pictures where it has like a scale of how big the thing is in the picture. And right here you can see it says 10 microns. So I thought about this for years, and I said, well, how big are they? So they're bigger than blood cells. Not by much, but they are bigger than blood cells. I think a blood cell compared to these guys would be maybe the size of like a lifesaver. One of those ones, the round ones that you put around, that throw in the water at you to keep you afloat. So or think of a small inner tube that goes around your body, keeps you afloat when you're playing around in the swimming pool. So um, yeah, or maybe a little smaller. Maybe about the size of a small cat or something like that, or a kitten. Yeah. I would say maybe like that, maybe the size of a little kitten. And so this thing is, they're at the most, they're about maybe 15 to 17 microns. So yeah, high. And so this is the first issue. I have it up online, Webtoons. I also submitted it to one of the big comic book companies, and we'll see how that goes. I sort of did both. I'm in the position where, on one hand, it could become popular online and they'll pay me. And on the other hand, the comic book company could like it and say, hey, you're one of our artists. But either way, both things take time. So I said, you know what? Let me just go for it so that I'm not waiting on one. So if one doesn't work out, there's always the other. But the point is that I've already set the wheels in motion. So I'm not just twiddling my thumbs. And one of them involves not just waiting, but I'm actually continuing making art for the script that I've written, which is fine either way. So you know. Um, so yeah, this is online webtoons. It's called Integument, and I'm doing it under my internet name, MEMATRON. Um, if I do it through the comic book company, it'll probably be under my real name, which is Jason. My name is Jason German. No big deal. People know me by both, but a lot of people know me by Mima. They call me Mima. Yeah, so this is what I've been working on, and over the years, I even went to college to learn how to draw. I studied microbiology in college as well. So I literally got degrees in a couple of subjects so that I could better illustrate and write about the artwork that I'm interested in. And the good thing about this is that this isn't based on anything. It comes from the purest of places, an idea, and the interesting things that come out of that, and it's made for pure entertainment. I was aware as a kid that a lot of the cartoons I watched were just commercials, but I really did appreciate when I would see a few that were just made for kids' entertainment, or even though it was a half-hour long commercial, basically, that it actually had good writing, you know. So that was cool, but this comes from the point of view of pure entertainment. It wasn't made to market um, dolls and things like that. Although there's nothing wrong with that, that's fine. But it just means that my agenda was to make it as entertaining as possible. And so yeah, so the first episode is up, or issue, and these are basically pictures from it. This is formatted to be looked at digitally, so it's sort of a scrolling type thing, which worked out because the way I made the panels, I mean, they're the order that they're in, that you see them in. It's pretty straightforward. There's not a lot of shapes cutting through and breaking up the panels. Although I will get into that when it comes to some of the parts of the story and things like that, because it'll make sense. But I'm basically paying attention to everything. You know, if I make a certain shape, panel, or size, does that help explain the story? Does it slow it down or speed it up? But for these establishing shots, I felt that the way I have it now, where it's just pretty much straightforward. This is it. Behold, the surface of the skin. It just made sense that these establishing shots would just be, what they are. There's no little art tricks here. It is what it is, and again, it stands on its own. And someone already wrote, they're like, "Oh, this is unique," and everything like that. And I'm like, well, yeah, this isn't based on anything. It's not like, oh, this reminds me of whatever. It's like it, and this was made again, during the golden age of animation, and when right before we started using like computers to start coloring comic books, which was cool. It gave us a lot of freedom and things like that. So what I'm saying is, like, it's in the age of reboots and things like that. Here's something that isn't. Here's something that was basically made when I was still a kid, but I took it very seriously. So again, this is Integument. It's on. I'll put a link in the description. It's on the Line Webtoons site. It's an application. It's also a website. I guess this looks better if you look at it within the application, because even though you can look at it in a browser easily, everything on that site is formatted to be looked at within the app it just, because you're not seeing this white space around here. So that's pretty much what's going on. That's what I've been working on. One of the major, I would say major things I've been working on. I worked on another comic, but I actually didn't like the way I did it, but I took what I did with that, a lot of the technical stuff, and I put it into here. It was an experiment, and it was good for me because I put it out there. It was very, very, very scary to do because you have a lot of people looking at your stuff, and which is the point. But the only way to get past that is by doing it and get comfortable doing it. I usually do other people's work, not my own. So this is one of my purely my idea, and we'll see how it goes. I want it to be popular, so the best thing you can do is just look at it, and it's free. There's no fees. It's just basically how it works is if I'm in the discovery section, so this is like sort of a almost like open mic. It's open to anybody. Anybody can make one. But what happens is if one gets popular, it could be a few things. If it gets popular, if it's liked a lot, or if the guys that run the site just like it, if they just think it kicks ass, they will invite you to be featured, which means you'll get paid to do this, and you'll have a normal schedule where you will make it. And that's good encouragement, because the idea that you could work on something like this for a long time and not get paid, that kind of sucks. The idea is like, hey, I would like to get paid to do this, and that way you're motivated and you can make a living at it, and then all you need to do is just do your thing. So that's and the fact that it's free is cool. That's the point, just look at it, and enjoy it. Again, it's not trying to be anything. It's not based on anything. It no doubt was made before a lot of people who enjoy a lot of this stuff today were even born. So it's not like someone's going to be like, hey, that's my idea. It's like, you weren't born yet. It's not your idea. Okay. So, yeah. So this was sort of the perfect storm for me, where a lot of the technology and the even the ability to do it was all in the right place, because there's a certain amount of detail I always wanted in this. And let me go to some of the other artwork. I wanted a certain amount of detail in it, and let me see how. Experiments. I'm trying to find one where oh, here's one. So let's see here. Dun, 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 dun. Here's one. That's just one of her. That's before I added a certain amount of detail. The colors are kind of freaky on purpose. It's sort of a theatrical approach to it. You over-exaggerate a few things so that it ends up looking pretty cool when you're done. There's another picture. I was practicing some stuff on here. This is when I was still designing her. For this. I have lots of drawings that I've made over the years, but they essentially kind of look like this. Yeah. As you can see, like, I actually use a computer to make this, because what I did was I modeled this, and and then I ink it, and then it ends up looking like this. But the point is this is a fully rigged computer model, so I can pose her or any of the other creatures that I make however I want. And hold on, let's see more. Trying to look at the. I have one. Let's see my. Trying to look up the one. Oh, here it is. Okay. A character sheet. Yeah, here it is. So this is a character sheet of one of my of one of the predators that that tries to eat Tethys and her kind. And this guy's called a Morby Yorby. So the idea is, like, I can pose these things any way I want, and they're fully rigged computer models, and they have a certain amount of detail. And the good thing about it is, I do it once, and then there it is. And that's always what I wanted. And that the inspiration for wanting to do something like that came from when I would watch anime, and I would just notice how detailed a lot of the and this is the animation, how detailed they were. And I was like, oh my god, if you could make every frame art, that would be awesome. You could take any frame out of that and just, hey, I'm going to put that up on my wall. So that's basically my motivation behind wanting to do something like that. I don't have to be in a position where I'm saying, whoa, I had a good day that day and I made this awesome detailed illustration of this creature. It's like, nope. It's always good. It's just a matter of composition. Did I compose the thing right? And so I have a certain set of standard lighting that I'm used that looks good for it. So I'm sort of a film noir type. So I like that, and the chiaroscuro, sort of Caravaggio type thing. Actually, they used to call me that when I was designing clothes for Levi's, because I really like showing off volume and designing shadow shapes and things like that. So my lighting is a certain way, and that's also pays homage to the idea that since these are microscopic creatures, it's sort of implied that, hey, they were photographed with some sort of machine that allows you to photograph something so small and even do it in real time. So maybe it's some weird false coloring or something like that, or it has to be lit a certain way. It's going to be lit as well, not lit, but because of whatever radiation is bombarding it, it ends up looking a certain way, and then it's like false colored at the same time or something like that. If that was possible to look at something like this and see it. Anyway, that's pretty much it. So you'll see these guys in action. The whole entire story arc has been written, so this isn't one of those things where it's it might suck, but I'm saying, like, it all has been thought out. This isn't something that I just came up with or something like that. It's a totally developed world. Certain details I probably wouldn't go in. I would actually do that in a book or something like that. But I actually have a breakdown of their biology down to their cells and things like that. I had to make up new cells, because I said, wait a minute, because once you get this small, you can only get so small. You're not going to have like some you're not going to have like a crazy like multicellular organism at this, when you're talking like, 10 to frickin' 20 microns. I mean, come on. But that's where the suspension of disbelief has to come in. So it's not quite fantasy. I still classify it as science fiction, but it's one of those things that you just have to kind of say, okay, well, okay, based off what he's made, then let's see if that makes sense, and that's pretty much what it's about. You know, it's like looking at like Star Trek or something like that. It's like, no, we know there's no sound in space, but it's or Star Wars, but it's a little bit more exciting when you hear the lasers or the sound of the engines as it whizzes past the camera. You know, it just makes it more exciting. So once you get past that, then you can. Oh, this is what I called it before, but there was already a comic called Skin Deep, and then I had another, but it has nothing to do with this. It's just the name. And then I had another name. It used to be called Scabs, but there is actually a Marvel character named Scab, which again has nothing to do with this. But then I said, you know what? It takes place on the skin. Let me still try to keep to that. Something, another name for skin is integument. And everything related to the skin, it would be the integumentary system. But this is just, we're just talking about the, the outermost covering, pretty much, dermis, epidermis, that kind of stuff, and the hair and the nails and stuff like that. But not going into like the deeper tissue and things like that. So it's just called integument, which means skin covering. Could be a shell too, whatever. Any natural covering of an organism is called the integument. But specifically, when we're talking about humans, we usually call that the integument. Everybody else would be the integumentary system. Anyway, it's a cool word, I think, and it also allows it to be a little bit educational, because even if you don't know what it means, like you'll know the name of the comic is not that integument, and then people would look it up and be like, oh, that's what that means. So I'm not explaining everything. I'm doing this to where, I'm not going to explain everything. I'm going to show a lot, and some of the stuff wouldn't even make sense. Like the characters don't have like crazy ass exposition and things like that. I have a little bit of narration, but it's not too much. But it makes sense, and there's nothing in here that's like the stuff that I do explain. It's not something you would be able to get from looking at the picture anyway. So it's one of those ones where it's neat. It's not like I'm explaining it and then you're like, well, yeah, motherfucker, I can see that. Like, no, you wouldn't even know what it was. So I use it where it counts. Like I mentioned that this is a sweat pool. There's no way you would be like, oh yeah, that's a sweat pool right there. Yeah, I no, you're not gonna. I wouldn't, but that's just me. Yeah. So that's pretty much it. Yes. Bloaters are sweat drinkers, and something I'll talk about in here, but they don't speak like we do, or let's say communicate. They don't speak at all, because that involves producing sound. They actually don't communicate through sound. What looks like a mouth, that's actually just for facial expression, and that's actually more to the benefit of creatures that actually do have eyes. It's a lot of times used to communicate. Maybe stay away. You can kind of like a deterrent, like don't eat me. Look, ooh, my mouth is moving. It goes along with that built-in fear people have of humans, and since these things look human a little bit, they're humanoid, little face. Some predators will stay away from them. That the ones that at least do have eyes with that can see visually. But these guys don't. They actually interpret the electromagnetic spectrum through these things right here on the sides of their head, and they communicate through these things. These are called neurons. So they receive through here, kind of like a receiving antenna, and they transmit through here, and it's just radio bursts. So that's how they communicate. They communicate with radio waves. And if you did attach a sound to it, I guess it would be like clicking sounds. If you're able to translate that into sound or something like that, even though it's a radio wave, it doesn't really have sound. Yeah, so that's pretty much these guys. And they drink or eat. Their mouth parts, what would be equivalent to mouth parts, are actually on the ends of their arms. And these bulbous parts of their, what you would call an arm, is called a sepinzar. And so these are just specialized structures for consuming sweat. Yep. All right, check it out. I'm out of here. Thank you.